There's a lot of great qualities about he's taught me to be a really loving person. So he's awesome, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah, you are. He's awesome. I love him.
I graduated from Florida State in 1988, and I was a member of a church, and I decided that it would be a good thing to play in handbell choir. And I was C7 and Lydia was C6, and it was love at first sight, except she thought I was kind of obnoxious.
And he asked me out on a date, and eventually we did go out on that date. And within a month, we were in love.
And I can remember on the way home that this was gonna be the woman I was gonna marry.
After 2 years of being married, we planned a pregnancy, and I got pregnant.
And along comes Curtis. And about 9 or 10 months, I think, into it, Lydia calls me at school. Had a bad doctor's appointment. And she said, you need to come home, we need to talk about Curtis. The doctors wanted to run some more tests. The skull didn't look quite right, and so they decided that they would send us to All Children's Hospital, which, as a young 26-year-old dad, that was a really scary thing for us, and that's kind of when we started to realize that this wasn't a normal kind of childhood.
At age 5, we were buying him toys that said 0 to 9 months or 6 to 18 months. That was not the age for a 5-year-old, but those were the toys that he loved.
When we moved to Fort Myers, I had a dream job, but the school system was giving us a lot of problems with the size of classes, and the ratio in Florida was 25 kids of all different levels of cognition and 1 teacher. And when we came to Atlanta, it was 8 kids, a teacher, and a parapro. So with no job, 1 friend, we put our house on the market, and I resigned from my position, and we got on our knees and started praying and hoped that God would show us the way. And God opened the door wide open, and we ended up here in Atlanta. Barriers in a child's life with special needs begin at school, but surprisingly, they can also be at church.
And I remember one church in particular. The people said to Jim, "We don't really know where Curtis would fit in." And Curtis was like 5 years old. We were just so upset.
I think the heart is always there. I think that people want to help, but they just don't have the physical space to do it. They don't have the teachers to do it. And so then where does he go? A lot of families end up staying at home, not having a place to go because there's just no place for a special needs adult to fit.
For the first time, really in our lives, we were not going to church. And that has been very difficult to either find churches that are accepting of him or churches that are capable and willing to take him in.
And so one day at school, I had a student come and ask me for a recommendation letter to work in the special needs ministry at this church called Westridge. And so we Googled Westridge Church, and the first picture we saw on there were the Wheelers. And the Wheelers are good friends of ours.
From the moment that we drove through the parking lot, there's just greeters everywhere as you're walking through the door, and they're so friendly. The worship time was great. The sermon was great. Curtis went to Out of the Box, which is the special needs program, and they were so nice and so welcoming.
It felt like we were walking in as a typical family. We didn't get the glances, we didn't get the stares, and a lot of times you never feel anonymous. Everywhere you go, there's an eye on you. You feel like people are watching you, and I didn't feel that way at all.
And we just knew that that was going to be our church.
There are so many families that are not in church because they can't go. And they can't go not because they don't have transportation, but once they get there, there's no place for their family to worship, no place for their special needs person. If Westridge is able to invest in a facility and volunteers that takes that problem out of the equation, I think the doors are going to be busting wide open with hundreds of families that would want to be a part of this church. No question in my mind. God doesn't make any mistakes. And often, as we navigate through life, people will look upon a family like ours with pity. And on the outside, it may appear that way, but our son Curtis knows the gospel at the very basic and most innocent way. And I feel like we've been totally blessed because God's plan for us is being shown to us each day in each step of Curtis's life.